Phil or Ben, Sandra is on here on a different device now. She's using an iPad and she said she does not know what it is named. What would be the best way for you all to figure out which one it is? Could she like raise her hand or something like that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, raise your hand.
Sandra, if you can you raise your hand so they can figure out which iPad is yours so that you can be made a co-host? Thanks, guys. All right. Welcome back. Hope everyone didn't get sleepy from your big lunches. I don't know what y'all ate, but it couldn't have been as delightful as our soup and salad lunch that everybody didn't like, but Jane at that one convention. But worth noting. If you are experiencing any technical issues, I just wanted to remind you to please contact Ben Henderson at 606 571 8447. You could also contact Phil Seif at 502 500 5521. You can text and or call either of them, or you can simply put something up in the chat as well. And we'll try to get you some help. Although I'm guessing if you're having a technical issue, the chat is not a great option. I just thought of that, but there we have it. Oh, she switched to that. Okay. Thank you guys so much for coming back with us, and we are going to have more delightful content this afternoon. I really appreciate everybody's hard work this morning and all of our presenters. I don't know if any of them are still on here, but if you are, you guys were amazing. And thank you to the tech team for working through all of our technical issues, some of which I didn't even know about until we broke for lunch. So I appreciate you guys all. To start us out this afternoon, we are going to hear from our national office via our national representative, Carla McQuillan, who is as I said before, the president of the affiliate of Oregon, and is joining us even though it is now somewhat morning her time. And hopefully she feels a little more awake. Did you have a lot of coffee? Take a nap?
A lot of coffee. Yes.
No, don't worry, I did too, and I don't even have that excuse. So thank you.
Okay, this is going to be really odd for me because I usually do a national report with audience participation and interaction. So if I ask you guys a question, just answer it to yourself. I won't hear it, but that's okay. And by the way, my lunch was breakfast. I had sausage and eggs and potato pancakes, and it was fabulous. All right. Well, I bring greetings from President Riccobono and all of the members of the National Board of Directors. Obviously, President Riccobono would love to be here in person, but there's a lot of conventions going on this weekend. I know I'm missing the Washington convention, although I'll get to be at their banquet because I normally actually go there when it is in person, and they're doing a virtual one this weekend as well. I just wanted to say that I have really appreciated serving on the board with President Riccobono. He's thoughtful and he really does encourage input. So when he says, let him know what you're thinking, if you've got any information you want to share, he really is interested in hearing that. So just as a FYI, he's a very receptive leader, and I have appreciated that greatly. All right, so there's lots of information you guys should. I get a national representative guide that it's 11 pages long, and it lists all the things I'm supposed to talk about, which of course there's no way that I can get to all of them. So I'm going to touch on the things that I find to be important and hope that they will be beneficial for you as well. All right. So one of the first things is that our 2021 National Convention, and I hope you guys all got the opportunity to attend that anywhere and everywhere. Highlights from the general sessions are now posted on our website, so you can go back and listen to stuff you missed or re-listen to some of your favorite presenters. That is on our website at nfb.org. And speaking of National Convention, you guys all know where we're going in 2022. New Orleans. And I'll tell you, I am looking forward to New Orleans. to be there in person. I'm hoping that things will have settled down in the COVID world and that everybody will get to gather again in person. That will be a fabulous convention. The dates are July 5th through the 10th, and we will be staying at the Marriott Hotel. If I went to New Orleans in 91 and 97 and had absolutely a fabulous time. And I hope to see all of you people there as well. Nothing like a national convention. If you haven't ever been, make this your goal year, 2022 in New Orleans. It is indeed a spectacular event. In 97, I had one of my staff members, I came back from the New Orleans convention, and one of my staff members said that she had friends who were in New Orleans at the same time as the convention was going on and came back home and said, "Oh my gosh, there's a lot of blind people living in New Orleans." And she laughed and said, no, it's a convention. My boss is there. Anyway, so one of the things that has started in the past year is our live presidential releases. So instead of just getting a recording, you now can watch the live presidential releases. Typically, they're at 5 p.m. Eastern time. The next one is going to be on December 2nd. So hope that all of you folks can be there for that presidential release. And if you have questions that you'd like to ask President Riccobono, you may send those to Chris Danielson, cdanielson@nfb.org. And although he cannot get to all of the questions, if you've got a good one, send it on in and we'll see if we can answer questions for you. And if you did tune into the last presidential release, which was this past Monday, you will have heard that we are now taking comments about the revised code of conduct. So if you read through that through the end of this month, you'll have an opportunity to give feedback on the code. It has been updated. It is, well, in some ways longer, and in some ways we've abbreviated some of the information. So please do take a look at that and give whatever feedback you feel is necessary. So last month was Blind Equality and Achievement Month, formerly known as Meet the Blind Month. And I hope that all of you guys, if your chapters did something or the affiliate did something to celebrate, we want to make sure that all of the people in our communities know that we are here and we are productive, contributing members of our society. All right. Now, one of the other things that we now have available on the website is a national committee form. So if you're interested in serving on one of the national committees, whether it be the membership committee or PAC or any of the other committees that are part of our national structure, please fill out the form. And that way, President Riccobono will know so that when he is making those assignments, which are typically now going to come out in September, it used to be after the first of the year, then you will be notified if you are on a committee. Now, that doesn't mean if you don't get on a national committee that you can't still do the work, because most of the work we do, honestly, is done at a local level. The scope of what we can do and the effects that we can make in our own communities is far greater than what we can do at a national level, although all your participation is certainly welcome. Now, over the past couple of years, we've been talking a lot about Amazon fulfillment centers, and that there have been a number of folks who were brought in as employees, but there was not sufficient alternative techniques, adaptive equipment, technology. And so we've been working with Amazon. And at this point, if you have any experiences with Amazon and a fulfillment center, Valerie Yingling at our national office would like to hear about it. So please make sure that you give any information that might be helpful for our national organization moving forward on our lawsuits and our agreements with different corporations. And another one of those would be LabCorp. This is a company that produces kiosks that are in many doctors' offices and other health facilities. So if you've had any experience with LabCorp, have not been able to access it, or needed to ask an employee or someone standing there by you to help out with the LabCorp equipment, Valerie Yingling would like to know that as well. So as the pandemic hit its stride, we discovered that blind people frequently were not able to access things like, the websites to schedule a COVID vaccine appointment, or some of the testing websites that the blind people have not been able to access. So Valerie Yingling, she is one of our lawyers at the National Center, has also been working on this, and we currently have a survey on our website. So if you've had difficulty accessing any of the COVID-related resources, please go fill out the survey. It'll only take you about 5 to 10 minutes. We would like to know about how that has been going and in what ways we can help improve the situation for blind people all over the country. So the American Action Fund for Blind Children and Adults, which is also operated out of our national office, we have for years been giving away free Braille books to children. And very recently, we have now gotten a stock of Spanish Braille books. So if you know anyone with children who would like a Spanish book in Braille, please contact the American Action Fund at our National Center, and we can make sure they get on the list to receive Spanish Braille books. So one of the core focuses that we should have in all of our local chapters and affiliates is membership, right? So we want to build members not only to help us do the work we need to do in our communities, but honestly, to help them out as well. I remember when I first came to the National Federation of the Blind, I had such terrible attitudes about blindness. And I was so impressed when I came to my first state convention as a scholarship winner at how successful all the blind people around me were. And I had never realized that. So it's important that we reach out to people and share the Federation with them. So we have quarterly open houses. These are designed specifically for people who are interested in the organization, not members, but want to know a little bit more about it. Now, because we want to keep these groups to a small number so people can ask their questions and we can have enough of an opportunity to discuss things, you need to contact membership@nfb.org and put in the name of someone or have them put in their name to be on the next quarterly open house call. And in addition to that, there are monthly membership calls for chapter leaders and affiliate leaders that you are welcome to chime in on. That is not something you need to reserve a spot for. The other thing we want to make sure people are doing, we now have a very nice onboarding process for members. So we want chapter folks to fill out the information about our members, and then they will receive periodic messages from leaders in the organization about a variety of different topics. It's a great way to introduce people gradually to the National Federation of the Blind and to get people involved in the organization. So please fill out the membership form online at membership it's a membership/nfb.org. Anyway, or you can email membership@nfb.org. All right, so I got the list of the states that had passed parental rights legislation and see that Kentucky is not on the list. And Oregon sadly is not on the list either, even though we've worked on this for several years now, and we're not giving up. So I hope that you folks have something in the works that you are going to be with your state legislature and hoping to pass Because the sad thing is, well, the sad thing is that we have to make efforts to pass this type of legislation. But even though the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed decades ago, we find that there is still a great deal of discrimination specifically against blind people when it comes to parenting their children. A few years ago, the National Institute on Disabilities did a study called Rocking the Cradle, and they found that physically disabled people are 35 times more likely to have their parental rights terminated than the average person in the population. 35 times more. And when they say parental rights terminated, as Jane knows from being in the profession, that means they take your children. This is a last ditch effort to give you an opportunity to have your children. They take them forever and ever. And we need to pass legislation so that this comes to the surface and we ensure that blind parents are not being discriminated against as parents simply because they are blind. All right, there's also, for those of you college students, I know we've already heard from some of you today, there is the Higher Education Toolkit. And this is a self-advocacy package that will give you some ideas on how you can best survive your higher education career. So the toolkit, and you can find that on our website as well. So the National Federation of the Blind deals with a lot of legal issues. And what we need to really get across to folks is we'd like to take up all of the legal cases we can. Unfortunately, we need to look for the best cases that will have the most broad sweeping ramifications and benefits to blind Americans. So what we're asking, the legal team in our national center is asking that if you have a legal issue that you believe needs attention, do not strike out on your own and do it without talking to someone in leadership. You should first, of course, talk to Jane if you have something you believe that is happening in Kentucky that deserves the attention of the National Federation of the Blind in terms of legal action. But there is now a contact form on our website where you can fill out information about any legal issues that you're encountering or that members of your chapter are. And even though it may not be taken up by the national organization, it is still something that should be brought to their attention and consideration. All right, so some of the legal actions we have taken have resulted in corporations working together with us to try to improve their programs, services, and equipment. So one of those that we recently encountered is ride shares discrimination from the rideshare companies Uber and Lyft. When I was in Baltimore visiting a friend a couple of years ago, and we had started working on the rideshare legal action against Uber and Lyft. And we were coming out of a restaurant, and my friend has a guide dog, and he called Uber, and we're standing there, car pulls up, and then guy calls my friend and says he can't pick him up. And they're talking back and forth. Well, why not? Blah, 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 blah. So I walk over to the car and realize that the Lyft guy is right there talking to my friend, and it was all about the guide dog. So I kind of got in his face a little bit and said, you could lose your job. You need to let this guy and his wife in this vehicle with me, and you need to take us where we need to go, because you're going to lose your job, because the National Federation of the Blind is making sure that you can't discriminate against people just because they have service animals. So anyway, for those of you who don't know, I kind of speak my mind, and Kathy Jackson knows. Anyway, so on our website, if you have ever encountered any discrimination from a rideshare company, there is a survey you can go to online and let us know, give us your feedback. Valerie Yingling would like to know. You can also contact her. She does a lot of these activities that are revolving around our legal action. One of the other surveys you can find online is educational technology. So if you are one of those higher ed, or even if you're not yet there, if you haven't graduated from high school, but you're having issues with the technology in your educational program, please fill out the survey so that we can, the survey, the purpose is to really help focus our efforts. So we're not just out there willy-nilly looking at one thing or another, but we're really focused on the kinds of things that are meaningful for blind people and the kind of experiences that blind people have had. So the other thing, and this is new, is the digital library survey. So we believe that blind people should have access to their local public library services and resources. And we'd like for you to take a survey if you have done this and run into any barriers, so that we can figure out the best way to help incorporate our blind members into programs at our local public libraries. One of the other efforts of the National Federation of the Blind recently is that we're working with Airbnb to make sure that the experiences of blind people who are wanting to stay at an Airbnb, which I'm just going to assume you guys know, but I'll let you know, people rent out condos, houses, apartments, and it's all kind of a privately done, all online. And I'll tell you, I've done this a number of times. And what I would say is one of the most critical things that I found inaccessible is that frequently the host of a home or apartment or whatever the dwelling is put the instructions for the guests in print, usually small print, usually posted some prominent location in the house, but not actually online. And this is something that a group of us were staying in a house during a Bell Academy, and that was the only place where we could find the instructions was in print, and nobody could read them. So we had to contact the host. But those are the kinds of things we're working on to make the experience better. Another one was I had a lockbox. I had to find a lockbox. I had the code to the lockbox, but there were hundreds of lockboxes all in one place. So I had no way of identifying which one was the one I needed, and had to rely on somebody else walking by to help me find the lockbox that I needed for to access the home that I was staying in. So I'm really excited that we're working on this. That is certainly something that I would appreciate when I take my next trip to an Airbnb. We also have filed a lawsuit against the Colorado Department of Corrections. There are two blind gentlemen that we fought on their behalf because things such as the menus, activity opportunities, resources. They have on the televisions, they will scroll for the inmates information that was not accessible. So we have filed suit against the Colorado Department of Corrections so that all blind people incarcerated can have equal access to the programs, services, and resources that are available to all other inmates. Then there is the California Department of Motor Vehicles suit. In California, the kiosks at the Department of Motor Vehicles have not been accessible, and we're working on that. Now, I'm sure some of you are going to be going, why would a blind person need to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles? Well, I know that in Oregon, the Department of Motor Vehicles is also the agency that issues identification cards. So that is something that I need to access. And fortunately, this has not been an issue so far in Oregon, but it is something that we've worked on in California to get resolved. All right. So national legislation that we are working on, and some of this will be familiar to you if you attended our Washington seminar, but let me just run through them very quickly. So the Access Technology Affordability Act, ATAA, and what this would do is create a refundable tax credit for up to $3,000 over a period, $2,000 over a period of 3 years. Almost did that backwards, for assistive technology. So if you need to buy a JAWS or a Braille display, then you can get a tax credit for up to $2,000 on the cost of that equipment. Now, this has been going through, it was in the Build Back Better, whatever the big legislation that's going through Congress is. It had been in the version on both sides, and it was taken out of the House side. So right now we're really encouraging people to contact Senator Schumer, who is the ranking majority leader, and please encourage them to keep this in the version of the Senate Build Better Back bill. That's a lot of B's. All right, so another piece of legislation that we actually just started working on this last Washington seminar, the Medical Devices Non-Visual Access Act. So this is for things like, glucose monitors and a variety of different heart pressure and I think it's class 2 and class 3 equipment, medical equipment, that it would all be made accessible out of the box so that all blind people could use it without having assistance to use it, which is typically what people have had to do. Another issue we just brought up this last Washington seminar, which of course was timely because of COVID and the federal elections, the Americans with Disabilities Voter Rights Act. And this would require that there not only be accessible voting equipment at all polling locations, but that it would also, there would be people in the polling location who are trained to use it. We have a member who went to vote, and there was an accessible voting machine. This was in another state. Oregon has been doing mail-in ballots for years, but she was living in Georgia, and there was an accessible voting machine, but nobody there knew how to use it. So she actually had to go home and come back when the only person apparently on staff would be there to show her how to use the accessible voting equipment. Another piece of legislation, the 21st Century Mobile and Web Accessibility Act. Boy, am I looking forward to that. There's nothing worse than when I update my phone and an app that used to be accessible no longer is. So this would ensure that the accessibility features were built in on mobile and web design. And finally, in our legislative issues, what used to be called TIME is now transformation into competitive and integrated employment. And this would be the elimination of the subminimum wage, Section 14C of the Fair Labor Standards Act, which Oregon passed legislation at our state level this past, 2.5 years ago now, that will eliminate it, phase it out over a course of the next couple of years, and we'll be done with subminimum wage by 2023. So those are the legislative issues that we are putting forth. Now, there are 2 bills, one in the House and one in the Senate, HR 1959 and Senate Bill 813, which would essentially gut the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act in terms of the provisions for blind and low vision students, taking out the presumption of Braille being taught to a student who is legally blind, replacing non-visual access to visually oriented activities, more magnification, less of the tactile and the type of equipment and resources that blind students need to have. So we are opposing those bills because of the damage it would do to the legislation that we passed years ago within the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. All right, so the Department of Education on the 19th of August developed a process for student loans to be accessed by people with disabilities to streamline the process. Now, that's all the information I have. But if you are a student, would like a student loan or have a student loan, we have now a frequently asked questions page on our website that discusses what you need to know with regard to this new rule change from the Department of Education. All right. Program that we have within the organization is a career mentoring program. So this is where individuals can kind of shadow people in a career or profession that they might be interested in going into. Big program for us, and I'm sure many of you have taken advantage of it, is our National Scholarship Program. We give away 30 scholarships every year, totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars when you add in all of the extra benefits. So if you are someone who is now or will be actually next year, you need to be a full-time student or part-time and working full-time, you can apply for a national scholarship. Our scholarship application is available on the website. The deadline is March 31st. So please, I encourage any of you who are students, if you've applied before and didn't win, please apply again. We only have 30 awards and we usually have hundreds of applicants. So just because you didn't win it before doesn't mean you can't give it another shot. And I encourage you to do that. I've been on the scholarship committee for years, and it's always great to look at all of the new applications coming through. So please. Couple of real quick things about the organization, our Independence Market. And now every month we've got a new sale going on. Don't ask me what it is this month. I should have looked, but I didn't. Anyway, Independence Market that you can go online and order, or you can call up. We have all kinds of great blindness related devices and canes and slates and styluses and almost anything you could imagine, scales, talking scales, thermometers, things like that. And for this organization to do all of the things that I've just been talking about, we need money. Yes, we need funding. So the pre-authorized contribution plan, the PAC plan, is a painless way to give money to the organization. You can sign up, and the minimum is $5 a month, and it will automatically come out of a bank account, off a credit card, whatever source you have that you would like for us to take that out of. And we're happy to have your support to support our programs and services from the Federation. One of the other ways that you can give money that is, I know I'm signed up for the Dream Maker Circle, is planned giving. This is where you can give a portion of your estate, if you've got stocks or bonds, whatever financial resources you have that upon your death would go to the National Federation of the Blind. And my husband and I, Lucas, are both members of, that's the Dream Maker Circle. So I encourage you to check into that. It doesn't have to be all of what you have. I know we're leaving stuff to our children as well, but wanted to remember the National Federation of the Blind as well. And the final thing before I open for questions is we have vehicle donations. So a boat, a motorcycle, a car, an RV, anything that is you don't want anymore, we have an organization that will come and pick it up and sell it and give the proceeds to the National Federation of the Blind. So Jane, that completes the report that I have, and I'm happy to take questions if anybody is interested.
Ooh, somehow my voiceover got turned off. I do not remember.
There you go. I'm like, I can't hear you.
No, that's because I couldn't unmute myself because I couldn't find the button. I might have triple tapped on it when I walked away. Listening through my earpieces instead. trying to move around my body.
I get it.
I do not see any questions in the chat. If you guys have any, please post them there. If you don't, I will ask Carla later.
There is one in the chat.
Oh, awesome.
Is there model parents' rights legislation that can be shared with our state legislators?
Good question. Go ahead, Jane.
Can I, just so you know, we actually already have it. We've had it for several years, not passed. We've come very close to passing it. I hate to say this because it's such a cliche. COVID actually did kind of impact that, because the year that we had so much support and we really thought it was going to go through, the pandemic hit and the governor put a kibosh on any legislation that was not related.
Oh.
So that's what happened with that. We were very close that year.
Oh.
And because in our state, they were not even introducing legislation pertaining to anything that didn't have anything to do with COVID, there was nothing we could do. And this year was very similar. They just were not pushing through legislation that did not have to do with financial funding for people with COVID, or it's not on their radar. We do have a sponsor. She actually lives on my street right down there. So we are going to get back at it. We just had to outweight other legal maneuvering that was occurring.
Got it. Well, in Oregon, and this really burned me, we went to the legislature with a bill, a parental rights bill, and we got a state representative was on it. She was excited about it. And the Department of Justice came up and said, oh, you can't do this because it singles out a specific disability. And I'm like, what? So we fixed it so that it wasn't singling out a specific blindness, right? And just general parents with disabilities. And I don't know what it was, but the Department of Justice not only said no, but got our sponsor to back off. So yeah, we're still working. And like you say, this last session, there was nobody was doing anything this last session for us.
No, I don't think they even did. I talked to other people from other groups, and it was impossible to get any legislation in there that the government itself had not decided needed to be taken care of. And so just so you guys know, if you're out there and, I don't know who put that question, our chat box does not read the names of people on voiceover. And I don't know if that's just us, or it drives me crazy though, because I don't know who asked the question. But get back to me outside of this context and I will share with you what we have done apart from what I've already said. Hopefully that helps. I think somebody else had a question. I heard that one I did hear a name for. Was there another one, Phil?
He said his hand raised, but
that's what it is. Oh, okay. Might have just been a mistake. My voiceover did it to me earlier. I don't know why. All right. If there are no other questions, unless if you have something else, I really, you know what? I'm going to say this. I like that you are very practical with your national report. It's all stuff that's super accessible and helpful and things that people don't necessarily know, because I know for sure that a lot of folks ask about the committees thing, for example, and don't realize that there's actually a form for that, which I didn't realize for a really long time. So I appreciate that the things that you shared are very practical in nature. That is so helpful. And not always, it isn't always the case. And I really, really like that. Maybe it's your teacher thing. I don't know.
I know, right? And like I said, what I normally do is I would go, okay, and legislation, ATAA, who knows what that is, right? And that's where you figure out who your legislative people are. And yeah. It's a lot more fun in person.
Yeah, so much is, but adventures.
Yeah. Reese still has that question if you want.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I really like that there is some work being done for, I guess, making the internet more accessible, you would say. I do have a question so we all mostly use smartphones, and it's pretty much either Google or Apple. Wouldn't it be possible for Apple or Google to set restrictions so that anything put in their Google Play Store or the App Store had a mandatory accessibility. And if that is something that's possible, because it is that something that, the NFB could push for?
That's a great idea. And that's one of the other things. If there's anything you guys like this, I'm going to use this as an example, Reese, that if there's anything you want me to take back to President Riccobono or other members of the national staff who are responsible for those kinds of things, I'm happy to do that. I will make a note of that. It's funny, a couple of years ago, we were visiting some friends and they had a little gathering, and there was a couple who had just sold an app company. They were app developers, and they stood, and I brought out my phone and showed them all of the accessibility. I showed them apps that were not accessible and ones that were. They had absolutely no clue that there was anything like this. And here they were, app developers, just sold their company for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was shocked. So yeah, that would be one way to focus the effort. Sure. Thanks for that.
I feel like sometimes we've fought the internet thing for so long that we don't think about the smartphone thing, which is a good thing that you brought that up. All right. Awesome. Do we have any other questions? Well, thank you, Carla. And if you have something else later, just jump in. You have a host privileges, so you can do that.
Okay. And I was thinking about that. I almost jumped in earlier, and then I went, oh, I don't want to get Jane off her stride. So if you don't mind, if it happens again,
Don't care.
I'll do it. Okay.
Now
Excellent.
you just have me wondering what I did that you wanted to jump
no,
in on.
It wasn't what you did. I was going to ask a question or make a comment. I can't even tell you now what it was, unfortunately. But
yeah. Okay, good. Then it wasn't anything really bad.
No, nothing. No. Nothing. Yeah, no, I wasn't going to beat you up for anything. No, nothing.
Okay, thanks. You can wait till later.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, you just got a beautiful, succinct speech from our national rep, and now you're getting one from me. I don't know if it'll be as beautiful or as succinct, but it will be very Jane. That's what it will be. I do want to point something out in the spirit of, sharing and resiliency. So I had this plan, okay? When I first, and Todd knows about it because I told him. It was very cool. Like I wrote down all these quotes, and for resiliency, you notice I tried to do them at the beginning, and I stopped doing them, and I started talking, because for me that is much more helpful than anything to be read. And I would just like to point out, because I feel like, especially in the context of being blind people, sometimes we don't realize that the struggles that people have are not necessarily related to their blindness. I actually have very beautiful Braille skills, but I am dyslexic. And when I consider reading out loud, even if I know what it is, I kind of freak out, kind of like the old school, you went through school and people made fun of you because you couldn't read. So even though as an adult, I've actually overcome some of that, it's in my head. So I thought I would share that with you, because I feel like in this context, it makes a lot of sense. And I don't feel like people necessarily share that often, that sometimes what people might perceive as a lack of blindness skills is really something else entirely. So there you go. There you have that. I am reading old school Braille notes. They are not on a tech device. I do have one, but I don't know how to use it very well. I'm learning. I'm also paranoid that it will stop working at a crucial moment. So there you have it. See, mine are on, if you can see. 3x5 cards, old school Braille on a Perkins. So there you go. Anyways, the thing that I wanted to start with is how this year could have turned out so differently than it did. And I think when we first thought about meeting in the context of the pandemic, and we thought about meeting virtually, et cetera, I remember Kathy Jackson and I were sitting there going, we don't really know how to do any of this stuff. Neither one of us had really been on Zoom. It just wasn't, I'm more techie adjacent. I used to be techie, but I had kids and did other things and it passed me by, and I'm trying to learn again. So, but instead of that pulling us apart, which at the beginning, it could have happened, we took that opportunity to actually grow, believe it or not. Some of our young people who had been kind of on the fringes, and they've been around for a while, some of whom are my own and some of whom I will claim a little bit, they're here today, I believe, came together and they started a group on Zoom talking about the student issues that they were having. And in the context of this, and I believe Riley was running that Zoom, Riley taught me how to run Zoom as well. And then as people started using it for work, etc., it became more prevalent. So hold on a minute. Sorry, the people in my house forgot that we were doing convention. Anyhow, so they came together and they actually taught all of us old fogies how to use the Zoom and everything, and that was great. And from this happening, what started occurring is the state itself started coming together. So there had been an at-large chapter kind of dabbling for a number of years, and it had never really gotten. It would grow and then wane and grow and wane, and they would do things on like. I think we were using it at the time, a conference call line, for example, which had, myriad issues in and of itself. But as we all became more comfortable with Zoom, we switched over to Zoom as opposed to that. That group grew. They are actually meeting once a month. I believe it is the second Monday of the month at 8:00. Y'all can totally correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am though. But they have been meeting. And they actually are starting to come up with like a program and have speakers and have content. And whereas in the beginning, it was more like, what is the NFB? Where is our place in this? Some of our older members like Angela and I think Todd and Laura have been helping out with that as well. And I know Kathy Jackson have been able to take those people who either were gone for a long time and came back or who are fairly new and kind of establish a chapter like group, which will probably become a chapter again in the future, but right now, is going along quite well and having some great content. The Greater Louisville chapter here had no longer been able to meet, and therefore we're meeting online as well. And what has happened with that is folks who were not coming because of a lot of the transportation barriers that were occurring in our city and still are, have been able to come back. So I think that the practicality of it is that that chapter is now seeing numbers that were more equivalent to like what we were seeing a few years ago, because it's accessible, because people can come as they are. They don't have to worry about the transit issues and stuff like that. I know that we've talked about going back to in-person, and I'm a little torn, I'm not gonna lie. Yes, I would love to see all your beautiful faces, or be near them if I can't see them, depending. But I also am just amazed at how much we have reached out into the state, more so than ever would have happened before if the pandemic had not occurred. I know that when I log on to a Greater Louisville chapter meeting, I'm seeing folks from Frankfurt, I'm seeing folks from Covington, places like that, where there are chapters, but they're smaller. So they kind of have aligned to join this other chapter just for the purposes of, if we're going to meet virtually, wouldn't it be more fun to meet in a bigger group? And then they're still continuing their work, in a separate venue. But as far as content and things like that, we're able to share our resources, and that is always a good thing. And building on that, we are really working on right now here in the state of Kentucky, building some foundational structures to help our state grow. We are a fairly small state, and that is okay. we all know each other and love each other, and we may know each other more than we should. However, we would like to grow. So in that light, we have been working on committees. Now, some people don't like. I love a good committee. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big fan of the committee. I like how it divides up the work. I like how it gets people who have good skill sets together and says, "Okay, you're good at this. Let's do this." So we are hoping that through this we can actually grow our membership. Our legislative committee, believe there was one several years ago, and then it kind of filtered out to like one or two people that were doing legislative work, has now kind of been revived under the leadership of Todd Stevens. And this legislative team has not only helped us keep in contact with what is actually happening at the national level, just by virtue of the fact that that information is being, brought back by Todd and then disseminated to people who need to know. And as far as like the calls to action and stuff like that, it's more of the more modern phone tree, I suppose. So that's great. Sorry. And Todd is the kind of person who is very much a person who believes that an organization will grow by virtue of the fact that everybody feels like they have a part and a place. And I thoroughly agree with that. We talk about it a lot. And he is very good at finding people and bringing them in. So by virtue of this committee, he's been able to make more people throughout the state be connected to that process. And when I talk about Washington Seminar a little bit later, I will mention that again. We also have a newly reformed membership committee. Lonnie Swafford is the chairperson. Lonnie is beautiful at reaching out to lots of folks that may not necessarily have the best view of the NFB and kind of drawing them in. He is not afraid to walk across the line and say, "Hey, I know you've gone to this other group, but come over here and check us out and see what you think. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But if you do, come and stay." And he has been able to form partnerships that I think are by virtue of his personality. And this, I hope, will grow our membership, because I do agree that people, they want to feel respected and they want to feel included. And I think that he does a very good job of that. We also now have a newly formed social, well, I guess it's really not a social media. It's more of a media team, shall we say. And if I miss a name on here, I'm sorry. I really think that I have the right people, but I could be wrong. I believe it is Amelia, Lily, and Danielle Burton, and Ashley Swafford, and Taryn Seif. And so this group has been recently formed. We've always had social media accounts, in particular Facebook and Twitter, mostly. So in an effort to kind of expand that, what we wanted to do was to have people specialize in various areas. So I believe, for example, Ashley has been connecting with the folks who do NFB National's TikTok page. And she actually has been doing a lot of TikTok videos under her own name related to like blindness skills, etc. And so she is going to work on making a TikTok for our state that hopefully can kind of connect the two worlds. And TikTok is massive. If we, can utilize that resource, great. That's awesome. I know that Taryn is working on the Twitter account. I tried to do Twitter once. It was not pretty. I don't think I have the account anymore. I don't know. Hopefully not. If somebody's tweeting under my name, it's probably not me, just so you know. I have been helping with the Facebook for some time now, and Danielle, I think, is going to help me out with that. And I don't mind to do Facebook because that I at least understand. I'm old, but that one I can do. And Amelia, I believe, is working on Instagram. I don't know where we are in that, but I do know that that is something that we are looking into. Again, using the fact that the young people, they have these skills. We don't. I mean, some people my age do. I'm not one of them, but it's excellent to, it gives everybody a place, and everybody should have a place because they do. I mean, when I am no longer doing this job, when I, go retire in Florida or something, it would be nice to know that young people have, been brought up and trained up to fill our shoes when we are leaving. That being said, my most favorite, I think, is the newly formed diversity committee that has been formed over the past year, with Sandra Williams at the helm of that committee. I know that one of their big projects originally was to write letters, because Sandra's love is definitely underrepresented communities. So she has been working to reach out to some of those underrepresented communities, some of whom have been a little bit vocal in the past about their perception of their place in the affiliate. And we're taking that information under advisement, and we are reaching out and saying, you do have a place, and this is how we know that. So that's great. What our next step is going to be is that we would actually like to have this be a subcommittee of to form several small subcommittees. And I believe that Sandra is going to be the chair hub that's going to bring these committees together, so that those small subcommittees can each have one person as the chair go and be part of what will be the bigger diversity committee in and of itself. Because what we realized in a practical sense is that everybody's wheelhouse as far as reaching out to a community is very specific. And so it would be more helpful to divide this up and then come together as kind of, a rainbow of people from all these different subcommittees. I know that we are definitely looking to have a subcommittee of persons who are interested in LGBTQ concerns, and bringing those people into the NFB. And I believe that Taryn Seif may be doing that. That I am not positive about. I think that's what I heard through the grapevine. So that should be getting off the ground here soon. I know that Danielle was interested in connecting with more deafblind folks, and actually her and I talked about how there are more deafblind folks in the state, but that they don't have a particular connection. Apparently my cats are now also playing welcome to the virtual convention. So I know that she is interested in that. And the other area that people have expressed interest in is persons that fall under the umbrella of neurodivergence. In practicality speaking, to recognize this group would be helpful, in that I believe for some folks, I know for some folks in this category, and that's probably a terrible word, but that's what I have. It's helpful to address those things because it helps people participate. I know that when we were going to have convention in person, we actually had a quiet room. We had a quiet room that was still near enough to the action that you'd probably be able to hear the speakers, or that you could connect via your headphones and just listen in your own quiet space. So we were already beginning to consider those issues on a more practical sense before this happened. So hopefully that committee will be able to also, that subcommittee will be able to form, and those committees will be able to come together, because I think in addressing any of these issues, not only are we doing the right thing and the responsible thing, but that is again going to make us grow, because when people realize that their concerns are being addressed and considered, I think that people feel more like they have a place, not that they're an outsider, because nobody should feel like that at all. All right, Washington seminar, yay! Washington seminar was kind of a blast this year. It sounds crazy, but it is not. So normally when we go to Washington seminar, I think we usually take we've taken up to 6, taken as little as 4. I think in years past, I've taken more than that, but in the practicality of let's all fit in John Yarmouth's office, for example, we don't want to put like 10 people in there. It would be uncomfortable. So, there's definitely a lack of opportunity sometimes for people to actually practically be there and involved. But this year, because of the nature of things and the Zoom capability, that committee was able to reach out into the state, and we asked people, who said, here are the issues. Do you have a story? Come share your story with the committee. And people who had stories and had something to say, we matched them up with their particular representative. So whoever they were a constituent for, and they came along with the legislative team to that meeting. So we were able to be very specific in reaching out and saying, yes, we are from your state, but not only are we from your state, but this person is your constituent. Let them tell you their story. And I think that afforded an opportunity that was kind of unparalleled. And I think also that there were a lot of representatives that might not have had time to meet with us, but because they could drop in on the Zoom call and then get on about their business, they were much more able to do that. We have some who have always met with us. And I've mentioned Yarmouth earlier, just in the joking sense, but we did not realize that would be our last meeting with him. And he has been somebody who has been a massive supporter of ourselves, of the NFB of Kentucky. And we're going to miss him. And I don't think any of us thought that was going to be our last meeting with him. So we will have to reach out and wish him well on his next adventures. I think he is still teaching at U of L. So we'll see if we can maybe track him down and give him our wishes. Anyways. All right. So Zoom has, well, I keep saying Zoom, but there you go, has allowed us to reach out and has allowed us to reach out and kind of not form groups or divisions or what have you per se, but it has given us a platform for smaller groups of interested people to come together and to make connections here in the state. Again, connections are what is going to grow us, I believe, for the future. So I know that for a while, the library, was it the Braille e-reader? I could be wrong about the name. I don't think the Braille e-reader that came out, NLS had produced it. And I know, it's still out there. I'm not saying that it's not. But when that was new, I know that several of our members actually got together and taught each other how to use it and shared ideas on, okay, this does this, or I can't access, I don't know how to put my data on the machine. How do I transfer this? And they were able to use that space to teach each other how to use the device. We had it on our calendar. It was open to anybody who wanted to to join them. And I think that they all actually gained quite a lot from that. Because again, there's power in numbers. And if you didn't know how to do something, somebody else probably would. Additionally, as I mentioned before, the students got together, and I think for them, and even though, as with many student things, it comes and goes depending on the busyness of their schedules, that the fact that they could meet and talk about, all of a sudden I can't access my lab, and I can't, I'm trying to do a class that would be hands-on, but now it's online and you can't touch anything. And I also can't see anything. And what are you using to access this? That was helpful. I know that now they have actually made a Facebook group. I think for a while there, they had a group on an app, but they made a public Facebook group. That way they could, well, it's not public, is it? But you can find it and therefore ask to join. But they made a group so that they could continue to try to work together into the future. And, we haven't had a students division here in a while. And since I think I was in school and in my 20s or whatever, and we had one, and maybe in my 30s, right when I graduated. But my hope is that even if we don't end up with a division, that this group stays strong and that they help each other, because really, that's what it's about. Is building membership within our affiliate is great, and they will become members of the affiliate. But I'm glad that they have found each other through this space, and we will keep working with them. Several of them that have gotten scholarships are still around. And you heard from some of them today, actually. All right. Yay. So I noticed that are encouraging that we go back to in-person Bell where possible next year, even though there will be a virtual component. Yes. So pumped about this. We cannot wait to be back at our normal Bell activities. I know the kids miss us getting lost on the bus on our way to McDonald's and various other things. Water balloon fights. Some of them I don't think had ever done that. And that was pretty fun. So we've had a pretty good Bell group for the past several years. We've had usually about 6 kids actually, which is not too shabby. Almost as much as we can handle in our small. Not our classroom itself isn't small, but just to give everybody the attention that we think that they should get from this program. So I know that this past year, Kathy Jackson and Angela Henderson actually took over as co-coordinators. And I am okay with that, actually. I think they did an amazing job. I kind of miss it sometimes, and I kind of don't. But I will still stay on in the capacity of helping in the classroom, as I always have, because it is such a joy. I think that the beauty of our Bell program has been within the classroom, as far as we have actually been able to have all blind staff every year. And the miracle of this for kids is we have some kids that are, they're middle to later elementary age. And one day we had a discussion about driving, for example, and they're like, well, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be able to drive. And I remember Laura telling them, nobody in this room can drive. And they're like, what? You're all grown-ups. Everybody in this room that is a grown-up is blind. None of us drive. And I feel like for them, it was a really, really cool opening up experience. And I cannot wait to get back to that again. We have been able to stay in touch with those families. Behind the scenes, we are still, texting them, making sure that everything's okay, seeing if they need anything, and passing along information of a practical nature. If we find about, books and things like that. So definitely you will still be seeing our Bell kids, and we hope that program still stays strong here in Kentucky, and I have no doubt that it will. And hopefully we will be back at APH this summer. One can hope. putting that out there in the universe. Anyways, all right. So let's see, what do I anticipate for the future of the affiliate of the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky? Well, much like convention, I anticipate that the young people are going to step up and start taking a larger and more practical role here in the state. I'm very excited about the fact that they are really becoming involved. I think every committee at this point has a young adult and or older teen on the committee. If you don't, come see me and I'll give you one. So I think that we are only strong if we are strong in that. If, some of us decide, that we're too old to do this or we're too tired, we have the young people. And the practical truth of it is, yes, we're good for them, but they are great for us as well. So that can be a great relationship. I'm very excited about that. I see our Bell graduates, especially McKenna and Colton, that are pretty much aged out of the program for all intents and purposes. I see them coming back as helpers. I can't wait. I really think that McKenna, next year, I can see her as kind of a junior helper, and I am going to talk Colton into coming back and doing some tech stuff for us because I think he would really like that. So just keep that in mind. And I also see sorry, I think I got ahead of my own self in notes like Bill did the other night. All right. I would also like to see our continued partnership with APH. We are going to touch on this a little bit later by virtue of a resolution, but the fact that but I think in this state we have really, really started to build some fantastic relationships, both with APH. Tad has built several. Hey, I just got a thing on the chat that says McKenna's on board to help with Bell. Yay! All right. Sorry, I digress. Anyhow, we have built a beautiful partnership with APH. Not only have they given us our Bell space, they have been instrumental in some of the programming. They have actually brought our kids into the recording studio and to the museum and shown them behind the scenes, hands-on stuff. So that has been an amazing relationship. They have also been a great resource and space for the local chapter here. Todd, over the past, I guess this was their 9th, I believe, symposium, that technology assistance division has built up amazing relationships with various tech folks and tech companies throughout Kentucky. And he actually has been one of the people that's been able to do corporate sponsorships for us. We didn't do that this year, but we have in the past couple of years. And so I anticipate those partnerships growing. This year, we saw a beautiful partnership with the Kentucky School for the Blind. We have touched on that a few times, and several years ago, we've had students come on a more broad basis. But this year, because again we were virtual, we were able to hook up with, I think it was either 26 or 29 KSB students actually attended the technology symposium as part of their school day. So thank you, Todd, for that. That was amazing. And they had their video on, and I didn't realize it until later, only because somebody mentioned it. So then I went and looked for it, and there they all were in the library, all listening all together. And every time somebody would stop and say, are there any questions? Those students were on it. They were like, yes, we have a question. They stood up to ask their question. You know, it was great. So I would definitely like to see us continuing to be a voice in the community. In the communities as needed. I know that right now there are issues with the paratransit service here in Louisville, and also including the fixed route transit service. And the NFB of Greater Louisville has been partnering actually with the American Council of Greater Louisville and forming a joint committee to address these issues. And I applaud them and the beautiful work that they have been doing, Sandra and Lonnie in particular. And I do see this as sticking around for a while as we monitor that situation and decide next steps, etc. So that has been great. As legislation, we touched on this earlier, so I don't necessarily need to talk about it again. I did have it written down to talk about them. Would be the Parents' Rights Bill. And you might be hearing more about this coming out here soon. We are definitely still working on it and still will be in contact with our previous sponsor. And if she is unable to sponsor, we will see if she can find somebody who can sponsor this. But this has predates myself, and the current legislative chair, Kathy Jackson, has been working on this for a very long time. So hopefully we will actually be able to bring this to fruition here in the next couple of years. I hope bring it. So that would be awesome. All right. Next year will mark the 75th annual convention of the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky. We hope that it will be in person. I don't have a hotel contract, but I think that the hotel we have previously contracted with would be more than happy to accommodate us, and we can look into that. The board will be meeting here soon to talk about, you know, where we see ourselves going as far as that goes. And I hope that we will have grown. I think we already are, but not just in membership, but and not just in numbers, but in strength and support of one another. And hopefully we can take this opportunity that we have as we've been building this affiliate up to continue to change what it means to be blind here in the state of Kentucky. And you all have done an amazing job. And this past year has been quite the ride, and you guys have been supportive all the way. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And if I did not mention your name today, I'm thinking about it. I just, there are so many people to thank. I don't know that I could ever thank you guys enough all day. So there you have it. And that would be my report of the affiliate. So, all right, I need a breath. And we are going to have a fabulous fit break. This is actually a pretty interesting fit break brought to us by Emma Swafford, who's one of the kids of NFBGL. And Ashley is doing the recording and doing some of the audio description. Emma has been in dance classes, for a lot of years. I don't know. I go watch her recitals. They're awesome. And she would like to teach everybody how to do a dance. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am a terrible dancer. So if you're a terrible dancer, that is okay. We're all going to be terrible together. So if that video can get queued up, take it away, Emma. All right. Well, this has been, I think we kind of caused this ourselves. We had, oh, there we go.
Hey, this is Ashley and Emma again, and we will be teaching you a warm-up jazz dance. This dance has 7 parts. Each part has 8 beats. We will first teach you the first 8 count, and then we will add the second 8 count to the first 8 count, and so on throughout the beats. So let's get started, Emma. We're going to stand up. We're going to have our feet shoulder width apart. You're going to kind of bend at the knee a little bit to kind of make a boxer's stance with your arms up to your chin, your fist up to your chin, as if you're getting ready to punch someone. And for this 8 count, you're going to bounce back and forth, kind of pivoting one foot to your other foot. You're going to do that for a count of 8. So on 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's simple. That's the first 8 count. The second 8 count, you're still going to remain in that stance, but you're going to punch out. So when you pivot to when you bounce to your right, you're going to hit with your left. Bounce to the left, you're going to punch out with your right. And you're just going to keep doing that again for the second 8 count. So let's do the first with the second 8 count. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Punch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's really good. That's the first 2 8 counts. Now onto our third 8 count. This 8 count, you're going to do a squat on 1, then up with your right arm, you're going to do a half T, open palm face down. That's 2. 3, you're going to do the same motion with your left arm. So half T, you're going to open palm face down, and then on 4 you're going to push down, and as you push down, you're going to stand up. And you're going to do that for 2 4 counts, which makes your third 8 count. So let's do that. Ready? On 5, 6, 7, 8. Squat 1, 2, 3. Push 4. Squat 5, 6, 7. Push 8. So we're going to put in the first, second, and third 8 counts. Ready? On 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Punch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Squat 1, 2, 3. Push 4. Squat 5, 6, 7. Push 8. Good job. So we're moving on to the next 8 count. This will be our fourth 8 count of 7. You're going to still stand with your feet shoulder width apart, but you're going to stand as if you're starting a chainsaw. And if you've ever started a chainsaw, you know you kind of have to bend over a little bit. So you're going to bend over that left leg. Your left arm is going to be kind of straight down pointing towards your toes. And that right arm, you're going to do a pull motion, kind of pulling up something like is on the ground. You're going to pull it up with your fist. You're going to do that for 4 counts, and then you're going to switch to the other side, doing those same motions, pulling up with your right arm at that point. Or, I'm sorry, your left arm. You're going to do that for a total of 2 8 counts. So let's go ahead. 5, 6, 7, 8. Pull 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, moving on to our last 2 8 counts. On this, again, your feet are shoulder width apart, but you're going to start sliding. You're going to take 2 slides forward. You're gonna switch sides, so you're gonna slide with your right foot forward, then slide with your left foot forward. And then on the count of 4, you're gonna punch up. Your hands at this time are still in that boxer stance motion, and then you're just going to punch them both up to the sky. And then on 5, you're going to start going backwards. So slide with your right foot back, slide with your left foot back, and then you're going to punch up again with both fists. This again is for 2 8 counts. So here we go. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Slide 1, 2, 3. Punch 4. Slide 5, 6, 7. Punch 8. Slide 1, 2, 3. Punch 4. Slide 5, 6, 7. Punch 8. And that, my friends, is all of the dance. So we're gonna put it with music. All right, here we go with music. Listen for my cue and go ahead and start. Remember, we're going to start off with some bouncing, followed by punching. 5, 6, 7, 8. Bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Punch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Squat. 1, 2, 3. Push. 4. Squat. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Start that chainsaw. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch. 5, 6, 7, 8. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch. 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's slide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. Good job.
Oh, awesome, Emma. I think you looked much prettier than I did doing that. So yeah, it's impressive. Very nice job. Ashley, I really liked your description. It was very helpful. All right. Now that everybody's all perky, we're going to do resolutions. We're going back to the Swafford household with Lonnie Swafford. So here is the time where if you are registered and a member of the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky, we will be voting on these resolutions. The voting number is, and Lonnie will probably repeat this at some point, 516 874 2710. And Phil, you might be able to put that in the chat. I don't know. All right. Well, Lonnie has much more detailed instructions for us.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So this is 3 resolutions that we have today, and we're going to go over them one at a time. I'm going to ask that Kathy read them. She's graciously agreed to do that for us. And then after we read them, we'll read the first one, and then I was going to allow the opportunity for up to 3 folks to speak either for or against the resolution if they want to do that before we vote. Okay. Kathy, are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So our first resolution is 2021-01, failure of the Kentucky Office of Vocational Rehabilitation to provide assistive technology accommodations.
Whereas the Division of Blind Services, part of the Kentucky Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, OVR, is a state agency with a mandate to better the lives of blind and visually impaired individuals of Kentucky through independent living and employment training services. And whereas services and training are often provided by individuals who themselves are blind or visually impaired, and full independence and meaningful participation as an employee is critical to the success of the program. And whereas to accomplish the objectives of the program, it is imperative that the blind and visually impaired employees have access to the latest adaptive software and equipment to ensure that the high training standards as promulgated by the OVR can be achieved. And whereas significant advancements and changes in web browsers, Microsoft Office products, operating systems, and other peripheral software have and will continue. And whereas personnel are being asked to use assistive technology, which itself is over 5 years out of date and not designed to function with current interface standards. And whereas OVR has failed to review and fulfill accommodation requests timely for personnel employed for the Division of Blind Services to ensure that personnel may adequately perform all job functions assigned. And whereas accessible technology will place a blind or visually impaired employee at a tremendous hardship, not only in their respective roles as instructors, but also as independent employees in relation to internal communications such as reports, timesheets, medical forms, etc. And whereas the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, OVR, is a covered entity as defined by Title I of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 as amended. And whereas Title I of the Act prohibits private employees, state and local governments, employment agencies, and labor unions from discriminating against qualified individuals with disabilities in job application procedures, hiring, firing, advancement, compensation, job training, and other terms, conditions, and privileges of employment. And whereas OVR provides services to the public and Title II of the Act prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in all services, programs, and activities provided to the public by state and local governments. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the National Federation of the Blind in convention assembled on this 6th day of November 2021, that this organization strongly insists that blind and visually impaired employees of the Division of Blind Services, part of the Kentucky Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, be provided with the most up-to-date assistive technology software, including but not limited to JAWS, Fusion, and ZoomTech, as determined by the employee, without exception, in an ongoing, timely, and streamlined manner.
Thank you, Kathy. So if anyone would like to speak for or against, if you would communicate in the chat or raise your hand, that would be preferred. Okay, Phil or Ben, I'm assuming we've not seen anything yet.
That's correct. I'm not seeing any hands or anything in chat.
Okay, all right. Well, the committee recommends do pass. So we'll go ahead and call for the vote unless there's something that's been missed at this point.
I'd like to reiterate the phone number is area code 541-904-1233.
And am I correct that 1 is for yes, 2 is for no as previous years, because that's not been stated?
No, it's a new number because we don't pay for it annually.
No. Sorry, you didn't have your earbud in. I said 1 is for yes, 2 is for no, correct?
Oh, yeah.
You're counting them, so I'm asking you.
Yeah,
okay.
One.
All right. Just want to be clear for everybody. So, all right. So if you, sorry, Lonnie, I will give it back to you. I just want to make sure everybody was clear on that.
Absolutely. And Phil, if you wouldn't mind repeating the number one more time.
You're muted.
541-904-1233. 1233.
541 is my area code. That's an Oregon area code.
I guess you have a voting place by you.
Yeah, Phil found the company. He can give you the info. We were one of the few states that had no difficulties last year in voting, Carla, just so if you are interested, we'll let you know.
Yeah, we didn't either.
Well, maybe you use people in Oregon.
That's right. It's because we had an Oregon area code. I don't remember what it was.
Lonnie, are you calling for the vote?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did.
Well, you did, but then we had to discuss how it was going to be done, so I was not sure whether that was occurring.
Okay, yes, I am
It was
calling.
a clarity issue.
Okay. Yes, I'm calling for the vote.
All right.
That's good.
What do you
'cause
have? Two.
I've already voted and it registered.
Oh, well, there you go.
Jane, with that logo behind you, it's certain ways you position your head. And now back the other way. Looks like you've got a crown on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I kind of see that now. Like the
you-
Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
That's
you
kind of
do.
fun.
Lady,
Here, I'm gonna like do a little. I need
Yeah.
a little
Oh,
torch
go,
and hold it up
Lady
here.
there she is.
That is very funny. Never thought about it. Phil, are you keeping track of the time?
And there's no more votes coming in. It's
Okay.
unanimous. Pass.
All right. Good job, committee.
We
Thank you.
think good.
Okay, the next one is Resolution 2021-02, Becoming Community Partners During Times of Emergency.
Whereas the nation and the world as a whole has been in a state of health emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic since early 2020. And whereas, as a result of this worldwide crisis, we have experienced closures, cutbacks, shortages, and the need to be tested and vaccinated for the COVID virus. And whereas the blind and other disabled and disadvantaged people have been most negatively impacted by these conditions. And whereas health clinics, testing site, food distribution centers, grocery stores, drugstores, and the like are not always accessible either because of the distance from one's home and or the lack of a reliable support system. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky in convention this 6th day of November 2021, that the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky commit to becoming a community partner with the Commonwealth of Kentucky and other local municipalities to offer our expertise and resources in the planning and delivering of services to this most vulnerable population during times of health emergencies, national disasters, and other emergencies as circumstances require.
Thank you, Kathy. Go ahead and open it up for anyone who would like to discuss for or against.
This is where you miss in person when people get lively.
Well, I could get lively if you want me to.
I'm sure you could. I have no doubt. I'm
That's
a little
why-
scared now.
I was under it. I could get lively.
I think I've had more coffee today than
Okay, assuming there's no discussion or questions, committee recommends do pass. So we'll go ahead and call the vote.
Okay, the voting number, to clarify, is text-based. You need to text that number. If you tried to call, that's not how you're going to do that, based on what I just saw in the chat, just for the record. All right.
Hey, Jane, they should be able
Yes.
to, I think what happened is that he tried to vote before they opened the voting. Because you have to clear the last vote, then open it again. So that may have been what happened if he tried to call, but it should be text or voice.
This particular plan is just
It's
SMS
only
texting.
text.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
what do you got? Somebody with only a old rotary dial printer?
We told people beforehand to contact us if that was the case, because we
Got
could
it.
take their vote. But so that's what
Okay.
we did have a provision.
I did not even know that was a thing.
Yeah, Phil does all that, and he sent out individual emails to everybody who is registered to vote.
Okay.
Well, I haven't seen my confirmation yet.
See, it's because I said we didn't have any problems last year, Kathy Jackson. I did it again.
Didn't they tell you you're banned from voting?
Oh,
No more voting for you.
No,
No more voting for you.
no.
It doesn't work.
It can't be.
Phil, are you actually getting votes? Okay, yeah, it's you, Kathy. He won't let you vote.
I guess if I try again, it won't accept it, right?
Correct. If it should count it. But you also should get a response if you're a member saying that your vote has been counted.
I know I did on the first one. I haven't gotten it on this one. Let me
Well,
try.
try it again.
You can resend it. It's only going to count your vote once.
I had that happen to me last year, Kathy. So yeah, what Phil said, if it's a duplicate vote, it will just say that you had already voted.
There it
So
comes. Well, there it
if
goes.
just to reiterate, if you were trying to call in and vote, you need to call Ben or Phil and have them put that in for the next vote. That should have been part of the email that was received by everybody. But in case there was any confusion, please give us a call and we will make sure that your vote is counted.
So has our time elapsed? Are we still waiting?
No, there was a time limit. I didn't hear that part.
Oh, we have the
That may,
yeah, Phil. See, we should type things in for Phil. Phil can't hear. We can't see him. So
that may
legitimately
have been
can't.
unclear on my part. I apologize, but it's fine.
There's no more votes coming in currently, and it's unanimous pass.
Okay. All right. Our last resolution, 2021-03, is recognition of the contributions of the American Printing House for the Blind to the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky.
Whereas the purpose of the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky is to advance the general welfare of the blind throughout our Commonwealth and the nation. And whereas the American Printing House for the Blind, APH, has demonstrated unwavering support of our organization for many years by hosting the Bell Enrichment for Literacy and Learning program, substantial monetary contributions, sponsorship of our Technology Assistance Division Symposium, and providing meeting space for the Greater Louisville chapter. And whereas the support has served to improve and enhance the quality of lives of countless blind youth and adults throughout Kentucky. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky and convention assembled this 6th day of November 2021, that this organization wished to express our sincere appreciation to Dr. Craig Metter, President of APH, its board members and personnel for demonstrating a steadfast commitment to support the programs and services of the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky, which ensures that all who are blind may live the lives they want.
Thank you, Kathy. Opening for discussion. Anyone speaking for or against?
I do want to say this is beautiful, you guys. I really think it is very timely and appreciated.
Thank you.
And I think we ought to have this put on some really nice paper and framed and go up there and present it to them.
That would be awesome. We should do that. We'll make a plan.
Absolutely. Okay, hearing no any other discussion. Okay, the committee recommends to pass. We'll call for the vote.
Got my confirmation. I did it again. Yay. I'm getting so good at this.
Yeah, it'll be different going back to good, but different going back to in
I
person.
know. We'll be sitting there going, huh? What are we supposed to do? Raise
What are-
what?
what do we say?
Raise our hand? Do what?
That's hilarious. I was just talking on and on and on. All of a sudden feels like you're muted. Y'all missed my funny commentary. It wasn't as funny as Kathy's voting commentary, but it will be fun to be back in person, but definitely different. We got a call on that vote, sir.
Oh, we did.
No, I'm talking to Phil.
Oh,
You got
It's
a
a unanimous
result.
pass.
oh, gotcha. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Well, thank you to that committee.
Yeah, special thank you to Kathy and Sandra for serving. I think we did a great job and looking forward to next year.
Thank you, Lonnie. I know this was your first time chairing that committee. Good job.
So, yep, thank you.
It's not going to be your last. You do
No.
write a beautiful resolution. You already know this, so you're stuck. It's your thing now.
Thought that coming into it.
Hey, I told you last year when I stopped doing it. It was you were next. So, all right.
All right.
On to our almost awesome part of the agenda. It is not Sunday morning, though. That's what I'm going to say about that. Right? Yeah, that one Kathy would think was a great fun. It is not Sunday morning, but we are going to do the official business meeting of the convention. Some of this is going to look a little bit different, I think, just because the fact that we normally have our open board meeting and we chose not to do this in this context this year. So some of the things that we might have talked about then may get talked about here. And we realize that that is different. So I just wanted to let everybody know so that you realize that that might be a little bit of a change. All right. So I'm going to turn the floor over here to Mike Freehome to do the treasurer's report to start us off. I believe he's on here. I think I heard him on here earlier.
Yes, I'm on here.
You're always on it.
I'm on here. Good afternoon. Okay, it's time for the annual for all the people who are not on the board and who may not know about some of this stuff. So let me give you a little bit of background. First of all, the background that I noticed was my very first reconcile to send in the national was in October of 2010. So I've been doing this a little while and I'm getting a little older and we're about to figure it out. But before I give you any numbers, first of all, we have 5 different accounts that we're involved with that the treasurer of the affiliate cares for. First one is general checking. That's the one we pay some bills if we get them or whatever out of. And when you people donate funds that you do not specify, it goes into there. Secondly, there is a checking account for Newsline, which when I began was not there. We took over Newsline. Todd leads that, and Jenny Green handles that on the day-to-day business. And then we just recently started a PayPal account. I'm sure all of you have used that to sign up for this or to do a donation or whatever. There is 2 funds we have with Morgan Stanley. One of them, Charlie Allen, started, and his goal was to provide funds for students who are members of the NFB of Kentucky for a college scholarship. The second one was really started when I became treasurer. We had a CD in the bank that we were earning a part of 8% on. So we talked about that and said, well, Charlie's got his funds in a Morgan Stanley account. Why don't we do the same with our funds? So we have done that. So those are the 5 funds we deal with. Now, I sort of want to start by talking about the general checking account. Several different things fall into there. We've got our membership dues we pay. We've got money coming in from different donations. We have spent some money, and we do this annually. National Convention, we have the honor roll call, and we give money to these particular funds, White Cane and such. And lately here, we've sort of rolled a lot of other chapters and divisions into the general checking fund. And the reason for that has been that you cannot have a checking account anymore, it appears. That just sits there. They won't let you have it there and inactive for month after month after month. And sometimes chapters or divisions just don't need to access the money, or they don't add any money to it for months and months. And they say, oh, well, we're going to close out your account. So those funds have rolled into the general checking account. Yesterday, I was talking to Nick Lambright, and Nick is in the national. I talk to him from time to time, not every month, but from time to time. And we were discussing the fact that, yeah, that's okay to do. 2 things that you should know: when you have the state affiliate roll that money into the general checking account, technically it becomes the state's funds, just so you know. In turn, we do acknowledge that that's really your funds, and therefore you can withdraw those at any time from us, and we will be happy to write you a check for it. One thing that has concerned me, and Nick said, oh, well, here's what to do there. If you have a fund, the Bell Fund would be an example. The Ashland chapter rolled its money into the general fund also. We're going to require that you keep an Excel file or some kind of file that you know how much money you have. The state treasurer is not going to look up and tell you how much you have. You have to keep track of your own money. All right. We will provide it to you. We will check it and agree with you, but I will get with those in charge of those particular chapters and divisions and be sure that they have a way that they can see what their funds are. The other reason for that is Jane wants to know how much you got and what you're doing with it. And it's her responsibility to do that. So we will set all that up properly here in the next 30 to 60 days. All right. You all had spoken about Amazon, and let me just share a thing about Amazon Smile. And I've talked about this 2 or 3 years now. Amazon Smile is the way I buy when I buy from Amazon. It's different than the regular Amazon. If you have a current Amazon account and you want to do what I'm going to describe here, you've got to close out that account and open up an Amazon Smile account. It means all your history's gone and everything else. But what it does, 0.5% of what you purchase in dollars, all right, is given to our affiliate every month. So it's basically money that it doesn't cost anything for you to do it. It doesn't cost us anything to get the money. Amazon has a 501c3 themselves that does this. Just so you know, 29 of us, we're supporters of the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky through Amazon Smile. So far, we have been honored with $410.02. Now, having said that, in August of this year, we were honored with $30.79. Now, if we could do $30.79 every month, and we had $360 a year, and I hate to call it free money, but it's basically a gift Amazon is giving us. So if you don't understand how to do that, we can assist you with that, but you can just go on Amazon and they will explain it. But please do understand, you've got to close out the one account and open up the other one, and it becomes a bit of an issue. All right. Looking at my notes here. Let's go on down the news line. We monthly pay Jenny Green to manage that particular process for us. We took that over, Todd, 5 or 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. It is a way that we can support people who are either visually impaired or just can't pick up a book and turn the page. You do not have to be blind to use this particular service. Now, one of the things I'll point out for Todd, I'm sure that he would talk about it if he was on, that we need to be telling the state or telling the national every month how many people we've added and what we've done and all the different work we're doing. And for that work, they pay us. They actually pay the state affiliate, and the state affiliate in turn pays Jenny. And then in turn, there is some money left over. And as I'll describe a little bit later when we get into the dollars in the accounts, over time, that becomes a rather significant amount of money. It's the money that we can use to run our business on. Now, having said that, how can you help us earn that money? Well, it's by bringing Jenny names of people that she can then work with and get them signed up for Newsline. So if you can't see that you could give the affiliate $5 or $10 or $50 or $100 or $1,000, but you can go, well, I know somebody, or I know this particular nursing home, there's probably some people there or whatever. If we can tie them into that, that will increase those particular numbers, and it will make it easier for the national to say, oh, well, Kentucky's doing a great job. Maybe we should give them some more money. So just be aware that's something that you can do there. In addition, Adam Adkins looks at a bench and bar, which is a legal book. I think comes out about every 60 or so days, and he reviews that and makes sure it is accessible, and they pay us to do that. So we're in effect earning money for work that's being done. That doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to offer up funds to the affiliate. But let me just tell you now where we're at. First of all, PayPal is empty. Phil and myself were talking, and I emptied that out on Thursday. All right. So those funds have been rolled into the general checking account. That currently stands at $9,062.95. Now, that consists of the general checking money, the Bell money, the Ashland chapters money, all that's been rolled in there. But the vast majority of that is for the general checking account. Obviously, we don't get together physically, therefore we're not spending as much. Now, as far as the Newsline, those funds currently stand at $20,491.82. Now, I just think deposited a check on Thursday, and we're paid up by them through September, so they're pretty well current. They're normally 60 to 90 days behind, but those are funds that we can take part of if we need to and transfer into general checking. I'm looking at this thing, and the board knows I'm always talking about, just because the money's there, don't spend it. You need to have this money long term. And so at this point, we do have a income stream there in Newsline, and we are able to use that in general checking for our convention, for the national convention, for the trip to Washington seminar, all those sort of things. Now, the Allen Fund currently, now this is the Morgan Stanley Fund, all right? It currently stands at $46,673.02. Just so you know, between January 1st of this year and the 31st of last month, we earned, by the fact that these particular stocks and bonds, this particular blend of stuff grew. We have grown that $5,141.58. So we're making over 10% on that money. In the NFBK fund, it is currently $35,039.92. And in the same time period, it has grown $2,071. Now, these funds are being watched closely by Morgan Stanley for us. For those of you that don't know, a few years ago, oil was a big deal. And Charlie Allen, bless his heart, thought that oil was going to be a big deal. Well, it turned out not to be a big deal. And we lost several thousands of dollars. Both of the funds did. Because we are 501c3, we can't write that off as a tax loss. We just lost that money. So we're being a little bit different in the way we handle those funds, but those are funds that are continuing to grow, which can support us. So we look to be in really good financial shape. So that is my report. Are there any questions?
I do not have any, and I'm not seeing any in the chat. Your report is always very thorough. That's probably why we never have questions. You have been an amazing treasurer. You already know I think this, so there you go.
Well, Nick Lambright said, you guys are easy. You never, ever have any trouble. Oh, but just simply tell you, I got a call about a year ago. He said, hey, can you tell me about 2017, this particular thing you did? Yes, I can. Well, because I've got a printer, which of course has a scanner on it. So I scan everything. I've got a copy of everything I did. Now, when I took over a decade ago, everything was in boxes. Luckily, I don't have to save those boxes now because it's gone past the IRS time. But you've got to be sure that you have the information. So when you say, "Oh, I need a check for," okay, that's fine, and if it's approved, that's fine. But I need a piece of paper because they're going to be calling in 2 or 3 years and say, why did you do this? And you know here today why you needed those funds. I know today why you said you needed those funds. But in 3 more years, I'm not going to remember why you said you needed those funds. All right. So
don't deposit a check without taking a picture. He will come get you.
I need a picture of all checks and a picture of all receipts. Yes. Yes, Jane, you understand clearly, right?
I do. I understand. I am trying to follow all rules, although I was actually the treasurer for GL, so I really do understand. I really, really do. Do I hear a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll make that motion. It's Todd.
Thank you,
To
Todd.
accept. Oh, you're welcome.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. I think that it's just a technical issue with what we're hearing. So as I don't hear any opposition, we accept the treasurer's report.
Hey,
I know that.
Jane, real quick.
Yes.
Do you take people off of mute when you take a vote like that?
Typically, I don't know that Phil was prepared. That's why I was waiting to see.
Oh, okay.
If people were going
yeah,
to.
It should be an affiliate vote, not just
I know.
who are the hosts.
I know. I don't know that if he did or did not, because I don't think he was prepared for that, and that's my bad. All right. Well, let's take the vote again because I didn't hear anybody, which is what was bothering me.
Currently, anybody can unmute themselves at the moment.
All right. Just all right. So it has been moved and seconded to accept the treasurer's report from Mike Freeholm for the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky. So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh, that was much better. Any opposed? All right. See, that's what I wanted to hear.
Awesome.
I'm so confused. Yeah, that's all right. Sorry, tech people, this is going to be complex, as you might imagine. Although we are going to use the voting number for nominations, etc. Todd is going to present a Newsline report at this time. And so Todd, you unmute yourself.
Thank you, Madam President. It's going to be even briefer because Mike actually covered some of what I was going to talk about. I just would like to let everyone know that I have been the state coordinator and project manager for Newsline. It'll be 7 years this coming January. I took over for Pam and John Glisson at Independence Place when I was working there, and we carried the service through Independence Place until November of 2015. And then the Kentucky affiliate took over at that point. But at the time that I took over, there were 1,864 subscribers. And today we have 2,240. So we've really brought about 400 people to the service. I mean, that the 2,220 less 1864 is not 400, but there are people that unsubscribe and they move out of state. So, you know, that number is pretty much on mark. We've done a pretty good job for the years that we've had it. We have had an exceptional year though in gaining new subscribers. Now, the goal of Newsline is to increase the usage among current subscribers, but it's also to bring new subscribers to the service. We need to make sure that we show the people that are funding the project, and that's the state legislator, that there's a need for Newsline, and there is a need. So in 2019, we had 25 subscribers for the year. In 2020, 36. In 2021, 63. And I think that that's largely attributed to the Visa campaign, the $100 Visa campaign that we had going, where anyone who referred someone to Newsline, and this isn't where you would refer yourself, but you'd have to refer someone else. Your name would be placed in a hopper. And if you had 10 people that you referred, then your name would be placed in there 10 times. And at the end, during the convention banquet, we would draw a number, draw a person out of there, and that would be the winner of the $100 Visa gift card. So we've had a lot more folks that have recommended people to the service that ordinarily would not. And at some point, I'd like to see that we continue this and make this a regular part of what we do and continue this campaign, because it's been very productive. I know that there was a reputable study led by Federationist Edwin Bell, and there was another person that I can't recall that worked to determine how many visually impaired people there are state by state. And this was done years ago, but at the time it was 138,000 people. And we found out that we really have captured only 4.1% of the visually impaired blind population. So there's a lot more work to do. But here's what a lot of people haven't realized. Newsline is not only for people who are blind, it's for people who are print impaired. So you could have a cognitive impairment, you could be blind, or you could have a fine motor skill impairment. So I can say that there's been kind of mixed reviews as to whether or not the Department of the Blind should have merged with OVR, Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. But in terms of Newsline, that's been very productive. With Sandra Williams working there, she's been able to subscribe a ton more people than she normally would, because she's been able to capture those disabilities groups outside of blindness. And she has been amazing for this program. Sandra has really carried the load for the last 2 years in bringing in people month after month. And I'm proud to say that in the 6, almost 7 years that I've been the state coordinator, there has not been one single month where we haven't had at least one new subscriber. And that concludes my report. Are there any questions?
You guys seeing anything in the chat?
Negative.
Okay, it's
One
clear.
more, let me just add this, Jane. I know that people have probably noticed the account for Newsline is pretty hefty. And the reason for that is, like Mike said, we are getting paid, but I 3 years ago, I have taken on a position of being a certified blind vendor. And so I don't need the money for Newsline anymore. So the only person that's getting paid right now is Jenny. So we're able to capture a lot of that and keep it in our affiliate. And that's, I am working on Newsline on a voluntary basis. I'm not saying that to brag, but I believe that we need to make sure that our state, the state of Kentucky affiliate is healthy so that we can do the things that we need to do. Jenny does the day-to-day activities, and I do all the reporting and the presentations and all of that stuff. But I think that it's worked well for us, and we're able to save and save and do the things that we need to do, even though we haven't been able to do that in the last 2 years because of COVID. There will come a time when we will need to draw on that money. So that's it.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you for all your hard work. And I do believe that drawing is going to occur tonight at the banquet. I have one question though.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
Kathy Jackson's name in that drawing? Because if it is, we just don't stand a chance. You might as well just draw it right now.
Yeah,
that's all I want to
Kathy's
know.
name is in the drawing.
Well, then you just hand it to her.
But let me tell you this.
She's the most lucky person I know.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. Thank you.
Let me say this. Sandra's name is in there many times over.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. She has terrible luck. She has good luck. Sandra,
Thank you for your
I'm waiting
time.
for Sandra to unmute and yell at me, but she hasn't, so that's good. All right. If anybody out there can think of any other old business, I've already pulled the board, and as far as I know, there is not any. Please raise your hand or indicate thusly in the chat. I will wait a minute. Karen, just be on deck there. All right, Karen is the nominating chair for this year. It will be the board positions only. The executive board was elected last year, and we do every other year with 2-year terms, just in case you're new and you do not know that. So this year, the board members at large positions are the ones that we will be voting on. We will use the same voting number. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Phil, are you on here?
I am.
Okay, so we are going to do a 2-minute limit. Can you watch that when you're watching the votes come in?
Yes.
Thank you. All
We're
right.
not doing it right now though, right?
No. See, he doesn't listen to me even on the NFB calls. Okay, that's just sad. Yes. All right. So I haven't seen any other items of note coming across my screen or heard them. So Karen, if you wouldn't mind to present your slate. And I did forget to ask if you wanted to run the voting or if you wanted me to, so just let me know.
Okay, it doesn't matter if I can.
It does not matter to me. I'm asking you.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay,
I can do it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank. Can everybody hear me? I hope so.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Mary Jo Hackworth and Jenny Green. And technology. We would have had a much tougher time doing this, like if we had to stay home and call people on phones or meet in person or some such. Because I've had some things going on, and like everybody does, and but we were able to get her done, and I thank those two ladies a lot. The first person, I guess I read the list first and then go through to vote on each person. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The first person is Danielle Burton. The second is Bill Deathridge. The third, Angela Henderson. The fourth, Danny Perry. The fifth, Lonnie Swafford. And the sixth, Sandra Williams. So how do we do
I can do it
I-
if you'd like. Would you like me to
Okay,
do it?
I'll let you because I'm not okay. I'll let
That's
you
all
do it
right.
'cause-
I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure. All right. So and I don't know that I'll keep them in alphabetical order like you. I hope I can. All right. The first name entered in a nomination is for board position is Danielle Burton. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? And I would like to also clarify, you can do this via chat or raise your hand and we will acknowledge you. All right, not hearing any nominations.
I move the nomination cease and Danielle be elected by acclamation.
Thank you. All those in favor? Oh, wait, Phil, universally unmute everybody first because I'm not sure you did that and I can't hear my thing whether you did.
Everybody can unmute themselves right now, but are we going to use the
All right.
voting?
Oh, no, we're not, because in this instance, I think a voice vote is appropriate. That was, I mean, we could do it that way, but that isn't the way we did it last time. I was just doing it the same way.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Danielle, you've been elected by acclamation. Thank you. You've been great on the board and we appreciate you.
It would
I'm
be
gonna go with
Bill Deathridge.
I was
would
gonna say
be
I was
the-
gonna go with Angela because I couldn't remember who put. It's not the order that I think of it in, so it's hard for me. I'm trying to like do it the way you did, but sorry.
Oh, no,
I do
you're
like
good.
the alphabetical order. It's just I always do it by virtue of how long they did it in my head. So, anyways, all right, that's fine. I like your alphabetical order. I just had to think about it. All right. So Bill Deathridge's name has been entered into nomination for the second board position. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor?
I move that nomination cease and Bill be elected by acclamation.
Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Even the kids, I think. Any opposed? All right. Welcome back, Mr. Bill. Excited to have you. You'll be hearing from him this evening. Okay, so the name of Angela Henderson has been entered into nomination. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? All right, are there any other nominations from the floor?
I move that nominations cease and Angela be accepted by acclamation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. Welcome back, Angela. We're ready to put you to work as always. You're a very hard worker, so appreciate it. All right, I'm losing my order again. Sorry, I have to have things written down. That's weird, but true.
It's Danny Perry's next.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Okay, so we have, I know, next time you have to make me a list so I can read it. So the name of Danny Perry has been entered into nomination. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor?
I move that nomination cease and Danny Perry be elected by acclamation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? So I have to give that pause now because we realized in the beginning of all this virtual stuff, if you didn't give a pause, eyes fell on the wrong side of the line as they were not intended. All right. Congratulations, Danny. Welcome to the board. I think you may have been here before. Welcome back. So we're glad to have you. All right. The name of, we're just going to go with Sandra Williams because that's in my head next. Sandra Williams has been, I know it's wrong, has been entered into nomination. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor?
I move that nominations cease and Sandra Williams be elected by acclamation.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Partly I have to do the voice vote because it makes me feel like you guys are actually out there. It's awesome. All right. The name of Lonnie Swafford has been entered into nomination. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor?
I move that nomination cease and Lonnie be elected by acclamation.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Welcome back to both Sandra and Lonnie. Both very hard workers. And we will continue to put you to work. Awesome. Thank you, Karen. And your committee. It was nice to see some new committee faces this year. I very much appreciate you working on that. All right. On to new business. Typically, a lot of this is done when we do our statewide board meeting that is usually open at convention. Not that they're not all open, they are. But this year we are doing it a little bit differently. So I do have one piece of new business that we would like to bring before the convention at large. It's just an idea that we have, which I think is worth exploring for us. Mike already explained to you all about Amazon Smile and about the importance of using that when you're making your Amazon purchases. By virtue of the fact that they know we are a nonprofit, he actually received some information recently that they have now started a new program by which you can create a nonprofit wish list. And that persons can actually purchase off this wish list and that be their donation. Mike, if I'm not explaining this correctly, please just correct me. And so what we would like to do is to start said wish list for the affiliate because a lot of times the things that we need, although money is lovely, there is more of a practical nature. And again, it's there. And, you know, if nobody uses it, that's okay. But if they do, that'd be great. I know Bell needs a lot of things that are actual materials. I know that there are some things that we need to run convention that we've either had for way too long of a time and they really need to be replaced, etc. And I think everybody can still unmute themselves if they cannot. I would like to personally invite anybody who has anything to say to do so at this point.
Hey, it's Mike. Just let me comment.
Awesome.
The Amazon Smile program I signed up for under my name, under my email address and my password into Amazon Smile. And when any of you purchase anything on Amazon Smile, I see that. Now for this new program, we're going to need to have only one person on there. Phil, if you're listening, we can only have one. I don't know if I'm the right one long term. So I may have to come off as the Amazon Smile administrator. Someone else has to come on, but then they can then set this up. And so at that particular point, you all can come up with a list of stuff you want if it is something that Amazon sells. and you tell me what Amazon doesn't sell, and I'll be happy to listen to you. Yes.
And then he'll find it later.
Yeah, I'll find it later. So this is a very doable thing. It is a brand new part of their 501c3 program. And so I think it's a good deal. There's no cost to us to do this. It's just a thing of signing up and putting out a list, and then somebody in the world will look at that list and go, oh, NFB Kentucky, they need a XYZ. Okay. And it's $57 or it's, $600 or $6,000. And they go, I'll buy that for them. And it's a done deal. So it's sort of cool. That's all I have.
Thank you. No, I recognize that a lot of times we would do this in the context of a board meeting, but I thought it was something that would be very interesting to everybody. And I would have done it, as I said, at an open board meeting. What did Scott say? Okay, never mind. He was just muting. Sorry, it sometimes reads things that I don't expect it to. Awesome. All right. I'm not going to call a vote at this time. I just wanted to bring that before the membership. So as we're looking into it, please get back to me if you have suggestions, ideas. You didn't like it, you did like it. I don't want to, jump in right now, but I want people to start thinking about it, as it's going to take a while to set up, even if we do it. I do not have any other new business. Does anybody else in attendance have any that I do not know about? All right. Does anybody else on the board or Carla have anything else to add before we close and rejoin for the banquet? But I'm doing my patient teacher face to see if somebody talks. Nobody talks. All right. It was great being with you all today. I think it has been very informative and very lively to the extent it can be via Zoom. And please join us back at 5 o'clock for the banquet. I believe we will be doing at least leaving everybody unmuted for about the first 15 minutes or so, maybe the first 20 minutes, so that people can have a chance to chit chat with each other. And then we will universally mute and get down to business. All right.
Madam
See you all.
President, we do a door prize now or wait?
Oh, I forgot about it. See, I got in my zone. Good job, buddy. All right, let's do a door prize. Everybody stayed.
I've got it together this time. So,
so, we'll take turns.
All right. As a reminder, the email address is doorprizes.nfbk@gmail.com. We'll ask for the 5 minutes for you to respond. So the code word is this one will be, I think it's kind of cool. Speedy Turtle it's actually the code phrase. I like the presentation yesterday. So Speedy Turtle is the code phrase. And we're going to ask Ashley to draw. I didn't forget. We have Alan Lovell, or Lavelle, however that's pronounced. Okay. All right. So we'll start the clock.
APH. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will see you all here at 5 p.m.